search done by many who have had to surmount the numerous obstacles put in their path, possibly put in place to inhibit our way of thinking and to stop us deciding for ourselves how we wish to live. Above all, keep your mind open.
Well, the weekend just gone by, as in Sunday the 8th, has actually marked the 1-year anniversary of the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. No physical evidence of the Boeing 777 have been found, and other clues, logs of automated satellite communications and from military radar, have actually delivered more questions than answers. The 239 passengers and crew on board are presumed dead, and the official stance on the fate of the plane is that it crashed somewhere into the Indian Ocean for unknown reasons. Flight 370 departed from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for Beijing in China early on March the 8th, 2014. It disappeared from air traffic control radar a few hours later before popping up on a few military radar screens and finally disappearing over the Andaman Sea. A comprehensive search was undertaken across tens of thousands of square miles of ocean in a number of different regions, and the current search efforts are focused on the bottom of the Indian Ocean, more than 1,000 miles southwest of Perth in Australia. Unsurprisingly, the lack of evidence has spawned a number of theories from all corners of the internet, but unlike theories surrounding 9/11 or the Kennedy assassination, few can be categorically disproven, even the wackier ones. One of the most plausible theories comes from pilot Chris Goodfellow, who suggests a fire in the cockpit actually led the captain to turn to the west towards Palau Langkawi, a nearby airstrip. The loss of communication with the cockpit, Goodfellow says, jibes with an electrical fire and the need for the crew to focus on flying the plane rather than radioing a distress call. Great theory, but there is no evidence to support this. An article in New York Magazine hypothesizes that nefarious actors could have broken into the electronics and equipment bay on the 777, accessed through the first-class cabin. A well-trained hijacker could theoretically have started pulling the plane's electronics apart and faked some of the satellite data that researchers have used to try to pinpoint the path of the flight. In the days and weeks following the plane's disappearance, one of the most commonly heard conspiracy theories was that it landed on Diego Garcia, the British-owned island in the Indian Ocean that is home to a major US military base. The theory gained so much traction that the US officials were forced to deny it. There was no indication that MH370 flew anywhere near the Maldives or Diego Garcia. MH370 did not land in Diego Garcia, an official from the US Embassy in Malaysia said. Even so, that theory has not entirely gone away, not least in China, home to 153 of the Flight 370's passengers and many of the most vocal conspiracy theorists. He Xin, a Chinese blogger, continues to insist that the MH370 mystery was the result of a CIA special operation to gain control of some special person or some special object on the plane. Mr. He actually claims the plane was forced to land at Diego Garcia, which explains why relatives believe the mobile phones of their loved ones were still ringing for some hours following the plane's disappearance. There, the MH370 was dismantled inside an aircraft hangar, he says, before being burned and dumped into the sea. Like others, he offers no proof, but it is interesting that the police discovered that the MH370 pilot, Zahari Shah, had been practicing how to land on a short airport runway similar to Diego Garcia's on his home flight simulator. Malaysia's former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad actually claimed on his blog that there has been a cover-up and the CIA and Malaysia know exactly what happened to the plane. Airplanes just don't disappear, he said. Certainly not these days with all the powerful communication systems, radio and satellite tracking and filmless cameras which operate almost indefinitely and possess huge storage capacities, he wrote. Dr. Mahathir, 88 years of age, who was Malaysia's Prime Minister between 1981 and 2003, said the missing flight's communication system must have been disabled, or else the flight of MH370 would have been tracked by satellites, which normally provide data on all commercial flights, inclusive of data on location, kind of aircraft, flight number, departure airport and destination. But the data seems unavailable. The plane just disappeared seemingly from all screens, he said. It it is questionable that a modern aircraft could vanish without trace, apparently baffling the world's scientists, analysts and all manner of aviation experts. Is Dr. Mahathir right? Does a government agency, a military force know something? Add to this, a US technology company called Freescale had 20 senior staff on board Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 and had just launched a new electronic warfare gadget for military radar systems in the days before the Boeing 777 went missing. Freescale's shareholders include the Carlyle Group of private equity investors, whose past advisors have included ex-US President George Bush Sr. and former British Prime Minister John Major. Carlyle's previous heavyweight clients include the Saudi bin Laden Group, the construction firm owned by the family of Osama bin Laden. The chances are that the plane most likely tragically crashed into the gigantic southern Indian Ocean, and no debris was found because the search for the missing aircraft started in the wrong place. But until, if ever, we get more evidence, that reasonable guess is no more sure than any of the theories that I have told you about tonight. There is one thing that keeps coming back to haunt me, however, which I referred to earlier. If the aircraft had crashed into the sea, how come the mobile phones of the missing loved ones were still ringing in the many hours following the plane's disappearance?
Keep your mind